Hello, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our Made with Love mini-series. My name is Leah, and I am your moderator. Especially thank you for hanging with us as we dealt with a few technical difficulties getting this stream up and running. I have seen some of you looking a little bit confused in the comments. Hopefully this is reassuring you that it was on our end and you are accessing our stream live right now. Now I have to say thank you to our sponsors first. So we have Craftsy, Creative Cake Design, National Sewing Circle, and a Creative Crochet Corner. They have all teamed up to provide this full week of live demonstrations and a bundle of 5 free patterns and recipes. They are perfect for gifting your loved ones on Valentine's Day. And we want you to make sure to download your free patterns by clicking the link in the description. Once you've gotten to the patterns page, you also want to make sure to click the picture of the project it is that you would like to download. Now, every day this week, we've got a new instructor with us. We're streaming live as we craft, sew, crochet, bake, and decorate. And you get step-by-step demonstrations of all of these adorable Valentine's Day projects. Now, if you have any questions during the event, please leave your comments in the blue chat box below or in the chat on Facebook and YouTube. I'll keep an eye on those questions and comments throughout our demonstration today. Get any immediate questions into our instructor as the project is being completed. And of course, you can always throw in a couple more general questions if you've got them, because we usually have a little bit of time when the project wraps up. Now, without further ado, it's time to bring on today's instructor. It's crochet instructor, Brenda KB Anderson. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hello and welcome. I'd love for you to start us off just with a little intro to you, and then let us know what it is that you'll be making here today.
Brenda KB Anderson, and I learned to crochet when I was a child, and then I learned to knit and I learned to sew, and I've been doing all those crafty things ever since then. And I've been concentrating a lot more on the crocheting lately in the last maybe 10 years or so, but I design a lot for yarn companies and magazines and that type of thing. And now I get to teach live events. This is so awesome. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make the big hearted scarf. It's got a lovely crochet cable that looks like hearts running down the whole thing, and a little bit of fringe at the end. And if you are a little bit nervous, you've never crocheted cables before, it might look a little tricky. I am going to be going through all of the steps for each repeat, so one repeat, and then you will just do that for the whole rest of the scarf. So I will be showing you all the steps you need to know, so you can follow along and make sure that you know what to do. You can always watch this again later too.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to remind them, you can come back to this video at any point in time so that you can get all of these good tips and tricks on your own schedule as well. I don't have any questions to start out with, Brenda, so I'm going to let you dig right in, and we'll get to some questions as they come in through the project.
All right, sounds good. All right, so first you're going to need to get your pattern. You can print it out. I actually recommend printing it out because, especially if you're a chart user, I made a crochet chart of all the cabliness in here. So you can, here I'll show you, that's what it looks like. So you can follow along looking at the chart, and it'll be a visual representation of what we're talking about. If you're not a chart person, that is okay. All of the instructions have been written out line by line in the pattern, and you can read along, and that'll make more sense to you if you're just not a chart person, and that's okay. So you need your pattern. You'll need 1,100 yards of a worsted weight yarn, and I'm using, it's a soft worsted weight wool yarn. It could be, you could use acrylic or other fibers if you want to. This is one that you can easily substitute because you're just making a scarf, and it, even if it affects the gauge a little bit or how it drapes a little bit, it'll still be fine. So you'll need your yarn, you'll need a crochet hook. I am using an H, which is a 5mm crochet hook, but you'll use whatever hook you need to get a similar gauge to mine. Or to get a fabric that you like the drape of. You know, because we're making a scarf, it doesn't matter so much if you get exactly the same gauge. It's okay if your scarf is a little wider or a little narrower than mine. And as you make your repeats, you can always end the scarf whenever you feel like it's long enough. So, you know, gauge is usually something we talk about a lot because it's important if you want to have good results. But as you're working on this project, you will just start at the very beginning, and then after, I think, row 18, it says this in the pattern, you will check your gauge, so that way you'll know at least if you're gonna run out of yarn, if you use the same yarn I used, or if you're getting a similar fabric to what I have, because it can be hard to tell what type of fabric I have, even though on a video it's a little easier than in just pictures, but that'll at least let you know if you're on track. So you can you don't really have to do a separate gauge swatch, you just start on the scarf and then check it. So you'll need some stitch markers also, probably about 5 or 6 stitch markers to help you keep track of your cables at the beginning. And a yarn needle, and that's it. So we'll get started on making the scarf. Well, actually, first I want to talk about this technique for the cables. So oftentimes when you're crocheting, if you're crocheting your cables will just be on the right side of your work, and then the wrong side of your work might look like this. There's some extra little ridges here from the tops of rows that you didn't actually work into, because instead of working into your rows, you work around your posts. So these cables are created by using post stitches here and then a background of single crochet back and forth. So one thing that kind of bugs me sometimes, if you're going to make a scarf and you want it to look nice on both sides, because it could be flipping around, you don't want to have to worry about it. If this type of backing kind of bothers you, to me it looks like the wrong side of something. So I figured out a way to attach these bits that stick out to the fabric as you're crocheting so that you get a smoother appearance on the back. So every other row, you are just doing a straight row of single crochets right across the back side of your work. But because we're going to have some loops that we didn't work into, and we'll get to this later, I'll demonstrate this later, you're going to do something called a single crochet join, where you attach your yarn as you're crocheting across. You'll attach it to the row below and then up through here. So I just want to give you a little heads up about what the SCJ is if you're looking at your pattern and you're like, I've never seen this before. That's because I made it up, you guys. So but I will explain to you as we go along what that is. All right, so to begin, we're going to chain 32 stitches. So you'll just make a slip knot, like that. Put your crochet hook underneath that. You'll have your loop, and then you're going to crochet 32 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to fast forward to 32 stitches. So you don't have to watch me make them all. And then let me just add my crochet hook. So here we have our 32 chains. And now I like to begin by working in the bottom bump of my chain. So this is the top of the chain where you see all these V's. And if you flip it upside down, you'll see all these horizontal dashes, and that's where I like to work. So we're going to work the first row across, skipping that first chain because that counts as our turning chain, and we're going to work single crochet stitches into that back bump. So insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, that's a single crochet. We're going to continue across, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We'll do that a couple more times. Insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. You can see the single crochet stitches forming there. And we'll fast forward again to the next. So this is after you have completed one row of single crochet. And you probably noticed all these markers in here. What is that about? So what I'm doing is I'm setting you up. In the pattern, it tells you to place your stitch markers in certain locations. You're putting it around the post of your single crochet stitches. So for example, we're putting a stitch marker in the second single crochet of the row. So there's the post. Here's the post of the stitch. It's the V that's on the front of the fabric, not on the top. We're going to put it around that part right there. So we place all of our crochet stitch markers, or our removable stitch markers, and after we have worked that first row. So you should have 5 stitch markers placed. This last stitch marker is just holding my loop so I can Put my crochet hook back in it. And then the next row is another row of single crochet stitches. And you're going to leave these stitch markers in place until you do the third row. Okay, so we will chain at the end, do a turning chain. Turn your work. And now you're going to do single crochets across. Just leave those stitch markers alone, just ignore them. So insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, those are our single crochets. And we're going to fast forward here. And when you're done with that row of single crochets, this is the second row now of single crochets that you've done on the scarf. Your piece will look like this, okay? And then we're going to chain 1 and turn. And this is where it starts to get kind of exciting because we're going to start making our post stitches for cables. Now I'm going to show you the chart. I'll talk about the chart for a minute here. So this is what the crochet chart looks like. And down here is the legend, and this will tell you what all these symbols represent. If you've never worked from a crochet chart before and you're a visual learner, this is an incredible tool because it's basically a map showing you where all of the stitches go. So you're going to chain all across the bottom. These are all chains, chain, and then this is showing you, the black rows are showing you the right side of your work. The blue rows are showing you the wrong side of your work. So you're going to work the black from right to left and the blue from left to right. And if you are a left-handed crocheter, then I would recommend just reversing this chart so that you do a mirror image of it. So you can so you're going to be starting from here and following it across, the same as a right-handed person would. You're going to be crocheting from left to right though, but you'll be following the stitches in this order, if that makes sense. So we've already worked 2 rows of single crochet here. On our third row, we're going to begin doing post stitches. So the first stitch is a single crochet, then we're going to do 4 post stitches around this row of single crochet way down here. And then we're going to do 2 single crochets, 2 post stitches, 4 single crochets, 4 post stitches, 4 single crochets, 2 post stitches, 2 single crochets, 4 post stitches, 2 single crochets at the end. All right, so I'll show you what that looks like. So here's our single crochet. Now we're going to do a post stitch. This is called a front post double crochet. We're going to remove your stitch marker, but knowing exactly where that stitch is. You can leave the stitch marker if you can stitch around it if you're having trouble. So you'll yarn over, insert around that stitch that was marked. That's way down here. You're going to go in from the side around the back and poke it out through the other side. You'll yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so we're going to do 3 more of those, and they're just in the following single crochets down in that same row below. All right, so I think I said front post double crochets, but maybe I said single crochets. These are front post double crochets. So we've done 2. Now we're going to do the third, yarn over, insert around the post, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We have done 3. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then we're going to skip these 4 stitches behind what we just worked, and then we're going to work 2 single crochets. So what I mean by skipping, you have to look at these stitches behind here. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to work into that stitch right there. So we'll do a single crochet, another single crochet, and now we're going to do 2 post stitches below. Okay, the first stitch is always going to be marked by that stitch marker so we don't get confused. So these are just like the post stitches we just did, only we're doing 2 of them instead of 4. And then we skip the corresponding stitches behind those stitches. So skip that stitch, and then we're going to work in this stitch, and we're going to do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 post stitches down here. One, 2, 3, 4, and we're skipping those stitches behind, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to work 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 post stitches down below. And the trickiest part of this really is this first row, because it can be hard to figure out where to put your hook. So that's why I had you mark all of those stitches to help you make sure that you're on track. We're skipping 2 stitches behind those post stitches, and we're doing 2 single crochets, and then we're going to do 4 post stitches. One, 2, 3, 4. And you may notice, looking at this chart, that is asymmetrical. There's 2 single crochets on this side of your like this column, and there's only 1 over here, and that is actually intentional. I know it looks weird in the chart, but it's because of the asymmetrical way of that the stitches are. The post stitches kind of lean a little bit. So it was making my scarf, I made it symmetrical to begin with, and it was making my scarf look asymmetrical, so I added another column of single crochet stitches, just in case you were wondering why I did that. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 and turn, and now we're going to be working those single crochet join stitches. And let me just point out, in the written directions, we're on row 4. Let's see. On row 4. Okay, so this is telling you word for word all the things you're doing, if you're doing a regular single crochet or a single crochet join, which I'll show you in a minute. But then at the end, if you don't want to read all that, which I don't, you can look at the end. There's a code. So 2 stitches means there's 2 single crochets right here in black. And in red, there's 4 stitches, and that means there's 4 single crochet join stitches. So we're alternating between single crochets and single crochet joins, and this is telling you how many in a row to do. So I'm just going to show you that on this row here. So we're going to do 2 regular single crochets. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 4 single crochet joins. So you can see here that there is this extra set of loops because we didn't work into those. We worked around a post of a stitch, so those are still free. And so we're going to take our hook and put it in the back loop, just the back loop of that, and then put it right up through the stitch that we would normally be working into. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. It's basically a regular single crochet. We're just catching that back loop of the row below in our stitch. Okay, we've done 2, 3. This one's hiding a little bit here. It isn't always this tricky, I promise. Oh, there it is. Okay. I just wasn't seeing it. Okay, so we've done our 4. So 4 joins, 2 regulars. 1, 2. Then 2 joins, 2 that are written in red. So we're just grabbing, again, we're just grabbing that back loop and then going through the stitch we would normally be stitching through. Oh, I don't know why I did a yarn over there. Let's back up. No yarn overs, this is just regular single crochet. All right, and then we're going to work through 4 regular single crochets. Oops, I already worked that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4 joined single crochets. And let me say, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, futz with that extra loop. It does get easier the more you do it. But also, you don't actually have to do it. This is just sort of an extra step if you want to make the back of your scarf look a little more smooth. The other extra bonus is that it'll close in the holes. Sometimes when we make cables in crochet, when things cross over, you get holes there. And so you can see the top and the bottom of that heart have a hole, which is fine. It's not a problem. But if that kind of bugs you, then this will get rid of it. See how there's no holes there? So that's basically why I did that. I was just trying to solve a problem, something that has always kind of bugged me about cabled scarves.
Brenda, Kathleen is very enthusiastic about this process. She said, love that you took the time to address the backside. So
Yay.
Thank you.
That's good. I was, working on this and I thought, I wonder if there's going to be a bunch of people who are like, why are you doing that? But I think if you do a little sample and try it out, that, you can see the difference and then you can decide if it's for you.
This might be a good time to, we have a question from Melissa here about general recommendations for someone who is a beginner crocheter. And you can talk more about this specifically later, but what about this project that we're working on today? If you're a beginner, what do you think you would say about this project?
I think if you're a very beginner, like if you've maybe made one dishcloth and that's about it, I would do a couple more projects before you come back to this project, because you need to be super comfortable with holding the hook because you're putting post stitches in different places, and it's kind of a lot of different techniques to learn all at once. But if you're really inspired by it and you want to do it, you can, it just depends on what kind of a learner you are. If you just really want to do it, then yeah, you can. What's the downside? You might as well just try and see how it goes. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's what I was just saying. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we've made it through level 4. These are levels, learning levels. We made it through row 4. And now we're going to be working on row 5. So that's here on the chart. We're going to do a single crochet, and this is where we make our cables cross over each other, which is what give the cables those sort of twisty look. So we start out with one single crochet, and every time in this pattern, every time your post stitches slant like that, it's a treble, front post treble crochet instead of a double crochet. So it shows it in the chart, it has it in the directions, but it helps me to know, just knowing that ahead of time, it'll make it a little easier. So you're going to do 2 treble crochet. You're going to skip the first 2 post stitches down here, because see, we're working our stitches down below. Then we're going to work around these 2 post stitches. So treble is 2 yarn overs. We're going to skip these 2 post stitches, and we're going to work around this post stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's a front post treble crochet. So we'll do that again. Yarn over twice, insert around the next post stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. And now we're going to be working around those posts that we missed. So yarn over twice, insert, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Yarn over twice, we're going in that stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, so now you can see they're crossing over each other here. And then we're going to do 2 single crochets. We're skipping 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches across the back. And I do like to look behind those stitches. I don't like to just guess what those single crochets are, because it's just too hard to know if you're right. So then the next 2 are actually double crochets. They're not post stitches. This is the only point in this whole pattern where you're just going to be using regular double crochets. So yeah, after this, you don't have to worry about it. But these double crochets are going into those single crochets there, but we were going to skip 2 single crochets to get there. So we're going to yarn over, skip 1, skip 2, work a double crochet, and then we're going to work another double crochet. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. Those are our 2 double crochets that are the lighter color here. Then we're going to do 2 front post treble crochets, and they're going back here into these post stitches down below. So yarn over twice, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Yarn over twice, insert around that post, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, that's what it looks like. Then we are going to be working these 2 front post treble crochets, and they're down in these 2 post stitches below. So yarn over twice, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Yarn over twice, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, and then we're going to do some double crochet stitches leaning back this way, and they are actually behind the stitches we just made. So what that means, we're going to be working, see if you take a look at this, there's a double crochet here into that single crochet and 1 into this single crochet. You're not skipping any, you're going to go back and work into this single crochet and this single crochet. There shouldn't be any single crochets that are unworked in this section right here. So we're going to reach back, we're going to yarn over. Let me pull these down out of the way, and we're going to work into the first 2 stitches that were not worked. So insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay. And then we're going to be skipping 4 single crochet stitches, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next 2. So, whoops, yarn over once. We're going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, and make a double crochet. And then we're going to make a double crochet into the next stitch. There we go. And then we're going to be working in front of those 2 stitches and do 2 front post treble crochets into the post stitches down below. So there we go through that post stitch. 1, 2, 3, yarn over twice, insert, 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're right here. We've just done those 2. Then we're going to do 2 front post trebles into these post stitches. Yarn over twice. 1, 2, 3. Yarn over twice. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll go back and do 2 front post, or just 2 regular double crochets into those single crochet stitches. So we're going to work into the 2 stitches that were are next in line here in our row. And so remember how I had said every time the post stitch tilts, it's a treble crochet. Well, these stitches are tilting, but they are not post stitches, so they don't have to go down as far to connect. So that's why these are double crochet stitches. Not that you need to know that, but you might have thought there was a hole in my plan. So, all right, so we've worked these 2 stitches, then we skip the next 2 single crochet stitches and work 2 single crochet stitches. So we're skipping the next 2, and we're going to work a single crochet here and a single crochet here. And now we're going to do, this is exactly the same thing we did at the beginning. We're going to skip 2 stitches, do 2 front post trebles, then we're going to reach back in front. We're going to reach backwards, but in front of our work, and do 2 front post trebles. All right, so we'll yarn over twice, skip those 2 posts. 1, 2, 3. Oops, oh no, I did that right. Okay, yarn over twice, insert, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to work in front of what we just did, and we're going to work around those 2 posts that we skipped, making front post treble crochets. 1, and here's the second one. Okay, and then we're going to skip all 4 of those stitches corresponding behind 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 2 stitches left. We're going to work a single crochet. Oh, I didn't do my last yarn over there. We'll do 2 single crochets at the end of our row, and then we're going to chain 1 and turn. So on this row, we're going to be working across just this blue line. If you are not doing those joining stitches, just single crochet all the way across. But if you are doing the joins, then this is how they work. We'll do 2 regulars that I already did. Then now I'm doing 4 joining single crochets. And then, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's check my secret code. Let's see, we're on row number 6. Okay, 2, 4, 2, 2, 2, 4. So 2 regulars, 2, 2. All right, here's the 2 joins that are written in red. 1. We're grabbing that back loop and just kind of making it into, attaching it to the single crochet we're working directly above it. And then we do 4 single crochets. And at this point, it might look like there's some unused loops here, but these have actually been worked into. If you look closely, you can see that they have actually been worked into. So we're just gonna work regular single crochets. You could actually join that section to the above section if you really wanted to, but that part didn't really bother me. The hole that it makes, it doesn't really show up after you've been crocheting back and forth a few times, so I just skipped that just for clarity's sake. All right, so we've done our 4 regulars. Now we're gonna do 4 joining ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 regulars. Again, this is exactly the same thing as I was just talking about. It looks like they are unused loops, but if you look closer, they actually were worked into. So we're just going to do regular single crochets in our working row across those. Then we do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to do 2 joining. 1, 2. Two regulars, 1, 2, and then 4 joining. There's always these 4 at the end because there's 2 crochet columns that go directly up, 1 on each end of the scarf, so there's always going to be those 4 towards the end. And then 1 single crochet in the last stitch. And that brings us to row 7. So that's right here. We're going to do a single crochet, 4 front post double crochets because we're reaching straight down, not at an angle, so they're doubles. So we'll do a single crochet and a front post double. So we'll yarn over, insert under that post, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. We continue that across, doing 4 total. Okay, and then we have to remember to skip those 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to work 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then next 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we've reached this crossing section, so we're going to do 2 front post trebles down here, and then later after we do those 2, we're going to work behind those stitches and do front post trebles right here. So we're going to reach across, we're skipping these 2 posts, and we're going to work into the next 2. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Oops, yarn over twice, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Those are 2 front post treble crochets. Now, what I had said before about crocheting behind the stitches we just made, if you were crocheting in front, you would just reach down here. But we are going to make our stitch go behind these 2. This is the one tricky part on this scarf is this little section right here, because you can see these posts are going this direction and these are actually post stitched underneath. So it's a little bit tricky. So we're going to be working around these 2 posts, this one first and then this one, but we are putting our crochet hook behind these first. So we're just going to go under here, put your crochet hook underneath that first post, pull up a loop, 1, 2, 3. Oftentimes when I design crochet cables, I try not to have too much working behind in my cables if I can help it, because it is a little bit tricky. And it's, you know, once you've done it, it's not too difficult, but you know, the first time you do it, it can be a little bit tricky to understand what you're actually doing. Okay, so the next 4 stitches, these are post stitches worked directly below into those 4 double crochets. And what I forgot to tell you, on row number 5, when you work those double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're going to put stitch markers around those posts. You don't need to do that if you're not doing the single crochet join thing on the back, but when you join them, it makes it really hard to distinguish where those stitches are. I've done this lots of times, so I could tell you there's a post stitch here, a post stitch here, post stitch here, and a post stitch right here. I can see them, but the first time that I did this, I wasn't 100% sure if those were the posts or not. So that's why I have you in row number 5, place some stitch markers so that you can be sure. All right, so we're going to be working double crochets into each of those posts that I just pointed out. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 post stitches. And then we're going to skip those 4 single crochets. Actually, we're skipping even more than that because because we skipped, you know, we were just working in posts here and here and here and here. We're going to be just working in posts. So there's just a whole section of single crochets that we're not stitching into at all. So the next stitch we're going to do is front post treble crochets here and here. And then we're going to work in front of those. Those are the easy ones. And we're going to work down here into these 2 stitches. All right, so we're right here after we've worked those 4. Here's 2 front post trebles. We're skipping these 2 posts, and we're going to work in these 2 posts. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to work in front of those. Yarn over twice. Insert your hook. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we've just made our posts cross over each other. They should be, you know, going in 2 opposite directions here. So check for that when you've gone that far. That way you know if you crossed your cables correctly. So then we're going to skip 12 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All 12 of those stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Our next stitch will go in right there. Okay. Oops, I didn't do my last yarn over. Okay, so we'll just remove that. So we'll insert, pull up a loop, and then we're going to single crochet across, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the next 4 stitches are going to be double crochets straight down. 1. Oh, looks like we might be off by 1 stitch. Let me just check. I think
Brenda,
I
while you're
counted.
checking,
Oh, yep.
I'm going to toss a quick reminder in for all of our viewers out there. We did start, if you weren't with us right at the top, we started a little late because of technical difficulties. We are going to continue going on past the top of the hour. If you have to leave, you can always come back and view this later. But if you have some questions for Brenda that are more general, I'm holding those until the end because I do want to make sure that we're able to get through the whole project. So you can drop them into the chat box, absolutely, but we might not get to them until the end. Brenda, I'm going to send it back to you so you can keep going.
Okay. Okay, so we've done our cable crossing here. We do 4 single crochets into the next, the row right before this row. And then we're going to do 4 double crochets right here. 4 front post double crochets, I should say. 1. And these might be a little tricky to find after you've crossed your cables, but make sure you're not going into this one. You can count your stitches. Here's one hiding back here. 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to finish up with 2 single crochets at the end. And then we'll chain 1 and turn. And this row, we're going to just be doing single crochets all the way across once again. 1, 2, let's see, we're doing row number 8. So we'll find our little code, or cheater's code. Okay, so 2 single crochets, regular ones. Then we do 4 joining ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4 regular single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll do 12 joining. 1. Because see, we have this very long expanse that would just be, flapping in the breeze there. So we're going to join it up. So 2. Just catching that back loop, and that kind of helps to anchor that stitch. You don't want to catch both loops of that row below because it makes your scarf a little too stiff. It distorts it a little bit. So if you just use that last, the back loop to catch it, then you'll still have a little bit of flexibility in your scarf. Okay, we've joined our 12, and then we do 4 regular single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 joining. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1 single crochet at the end. Chain 1 and turn. All right. Now we are at row 9. And just so you know, we only really need to go up a couple more rows because then there's repeats that start. So then number 9, we start with a single crochet, and then we're doing that cable cross that we've done before of the front post trebles. So you skip those 2 posts, front post treble into the next 2, 1, 2, and then front post treble working in front into those 2 we skipped. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets. So we skip those 4 stitches behind, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we do 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to work 2 front post trebles into the posts from below, right here. 1, 2, 2 front post trebles into those post stitches below. We skip the stitches, the 2 stitches behind them, work 3 single crochet stitches into the row behind, the last row we did. So skip, skip, and then 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to do another, just exactly the same as we just did here. So you skip those 2 front post stitches below, and you do front post treble into the next 2. 1, 2. And then we work in front. 1 and 2. Then you'll skip those 4 behind, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll work 3 single crochets. I'm looking at right here, 3 single crochets. So we skip those 4 single crochets down here. We work 3, and then we're going to go slightly backwards and work 2 front post trebles into the post stitches below. So 1, 2, there's our 3rd single crochet. Now we're going to do front post treble, 1 and 2. We're going to skip the 2 corresponding stitches behind in the working row, 1, 2. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do another one of those cable crossings that we've done already twice. So we're skipping those 2 posts, doing front post trebles into these 2, going back and working those 2. 1, 2, 3. And you may notice that whenever the cables cross over, they cross in the middle of the heart at the same rate as they cross on the 2 border cables that are on the edges of the scarf. I did that so that I could remember when to cross my cables a little bit easier. And the last 2 are just regular single crochets. We're just skipping, remember to skip those 4 stitches that correspond to the cable crossing area, and then do 2 single crochets at the end. And then you'll yarn over, and you'll work all the way across, doing your single crochet stitches and your joining single crochets, which I've done here. So you can see we just added one row. This is where we were, and then we just did a row of single crochets across. Just remember to join where it says to join. Look at your little code. And then we're going to work row 11. So row 11 is pretty similar to what we have done before. This one's actually really simple. You're just going to do a single crochet in that first stitch, and then 4 front post double crochets down below. Find those post stitches. This one's kind of hiding. Don't be fooled. There's another front post double crochet, front post double, front post double. And then you skip the corresponding stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to work 2 single crochets. And then after that, we're going to do 2 front post treble crochets into those post stitches from below. So 1, 2, and then front post treble, 1, 2, 3, front post treble, 1, 2, 3. So single crochet, we're going to skip those 2 single crochets from the working row that correspond, and then we do 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets, and then we're going to do 4 front post double crochets in the row below. 1, that one is always the one that's hiding, so just don't be fooled. 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to skip the corresponding stitches of the working row, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then do 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll do 2 front post trebles in the post stitches below, 1, 2, skip the 2 corresponding stitches in the working row behind there, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets, 1, 2. And then we do 4 front post double crochets down in those post stitches below. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we end with those same, well, you skip the 4 stitches behind, and then you end with those same 2 single crochets at the end of your row. And then you'll chain 1 and turn your work. And then you will work single crochet stitches all the way across, working your join stitches where they're specified. And you will get a piece that looks like this. Okay, so we've just worked that single crochet row and ended over here. And now we're working row number 13. This is the last unique row, and then after that there's repeats, and I'll explain that right after I work this row. So this is very similar to 2 rows before. Single crochet into the first stitch, we're crossing over, doing our front post trebles, just like we've done a few times now. Okay, we're going to work in front. And then we'll skip those 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and work 2 single crochets in the working row. And now, because we are working straight down, we're doing front post double crochets in those post stitches. 1, 2 of those. Skip the corresponding stitches, 1, 2. And then you'll do 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to do a crossing stitch here like we've already done. So front post trebles, 1 treble, 2 trebles. Oops, that was a double. Yarn over twice for a treble. 1, 2, 3, and then crossing in front, 2 trebles in these post stitches that we had skipped. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then you're going to skip those 4 stitches behind, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to do 4 single crochets right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to do 2 front post double crochets into these post stitches, 1, 2, skip the corresponding stitches, 1, 2, and then do 2 single crochets in the working row and 4 post stitches. Oops, nope, just kidding. We're going to be doing our cable crossing right here. So skipping the first 2 posts, working a front post treble around the next 2 posts. And working in front, yarn over twice. We're doing 2 front post trebles in the posts that we had skipped. And ending with 2 single crochets at the end of the row. Okay, so then after this point, you just chain 1 and single crochet across, doing your single crochet joins where you need to. And that would be, let's see, row number 14, and you can see row number 15 is identical to row number, let's see, oh, down here. Row number 3, we've already done that row. So you're going to be doing a repeat of that here. Then these 2 rows repeat a couple times. And then, so you'll repeat, this is all specified in the pattern, it will tell you what to do. But you're going to be just repeating things that we've already shown you. And then you're going to start, after you've worked row 19, you're going to work row 4 And this whole section will just get repeated over and over from row 4, which is this wrong side row, up to row 19. You just do that over and over and over. So let me just show you one more time. This is actually, so this is after we've worked, all of these repeats, and then we've worked row 4, row 5, row 6, and I think row 7 is where we ended here, a repeat of that. So that's what this section above where my stylus is, that is the section that's down here in the chart. It's like the heart is right here. It's a very elongated version, so you can see it a little more clearly. But here's the heart, and here's where it comes in at the top, to make the top of the heart. So you just keep repeating that over and over and over until you get your scarf done to whatever length you'd like it to be. I think there's 20 total repeats in my scarf. And then after you're done with that, then you can apply the fringe. So let's see. When you're making the fringe, you can use a piece of cardboard to make it a little faster, or you can just measure out and cut your pieces if you prefer to do it that way. If you don't have cardboard and you printed out your pattern, you can just fold your pattern in half like this and use that to wrap it around if that's what you have. But you can, we'll just cut like maybe 8 pieces of fringe, so I'll show you this twice. But you just wrap it around, so that would count as one wrap. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then when you cut it, you can cut down here, and then you can cut on the very bottom edge all these pieces, and then you'll have, that's just a little bit of a shortcut, faster way to make a bunch of pieces that are the same length. So to attach your fringe, you will just need your crochet hook and some pieces of yarn. And here's a little tip. If at the beginning of the scarf, you leave a long enough tail, then you don't have to weave that tail in. You can just incorporate it into the fringe like we're going to do now. So for each piece of the fringe, you're going to take 4 strands of yarn, and then you'll insert your hook. You're going to do one in each corner, one here and one in the corner here first. So insert your hook, and then I just fold this yarn in half over my finger so you can grab onto that with your hook and pull it through, and you're only going to be pulling half of it through, okay? So you don't pull it all the way through. So this is going through your piece. You can match up your ends, and if you happen to have a yarn tail, you can just add that to it, and then you just tie a knot. You can also hook your fringe on in a different way, where you just use your crochet hook and you don't have to tie the knot, but I really prefer having the knot because a couple of times I've had fringe come loose. So you just tie it in a little overhand knot like that. You don't have to pull it on it super tight. And then you can give it a little haircut later if it needs one. And then, so you'll add another one over here at this corner, and then you're going to add one every 3rd stitch. So there's a stitch, here's the next stitch. So there should be 2 empty stitches between your pieces of fringe. And you know what? You're the crocheter, so if you think this is too much fringe, you can do less, or maybe you don't want to do fringe, or maybe it's not enough fringe. So that's the fun thing about being a crafter. You can make things in just the way that you want to.
Brenda, there is a question that I want to get while you're on that subject.
Sure.
So Jay Badley is asking, if I want to use this pattern to make a lap blanket instead of a scarf, do you have tips for adjusting?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that earlier today, how this would make an awesome blanket. So I think it would look nice if you had a bunch of rows. Basically, if you just picture, a bunch of these. Let's see, this would be going this way. There. Okay, so you can think about if you want to have cables next to each other like that, you could have heart, cable, cable, heart, cable, cable. That would make it really easy. So then all you would do is you just need to chain on, instead of chaining 32, which includes that one turning chain, because you've got 31 stitches across, you can take 31 and multiply that by however wide you want your blanket to be. So if you take the width of the scarf, and then you can say, oh, I'd like it to be maybe like 6 times as wide as that scarf, or 10 times, or whatever. So then you can just take however many times wider, and then multiply 31 chains times that, and then just add 1 chain for your turning chain right here. And then you can just go through the chart and repeat, you'll work across here, and then you'll just keep repeating that across till you get to the end. If you wanted to get rid of one of the cables here, like if you thought that looked weird to have 2 cables in a row, which I think it actually looks kind of good, then you could look at omitting. You could make a printout of this and then cut out that section. Or maybe if you just, here, I'll cover this up. Maybe you want to just you can decide how many single crochets you want between, like if you've got 2 single crochets here between your cable row or your cable column and then the heart thing, then maybe you'll have this column of single crochets plus this column of single crochets. See, I'm just covering up the rest of it. You could just use that amount of stitches times 10 or 11 or however many you want, and just repeat that across. And then you would just get that 1 cable column in between your hearts that went, it would be cable, heart, cable, heart, cable, heart, like that. I think that's a great idea, and you can even put the fringe on it and it'll look really pretty. Or if you didn't want to do fringe, you could just do, you can do an edging round or something decorative if you want, but I think it would make a really awesome blanket.
All right, well, Brenda, I know that we have to let you go here. So rather than get to some of the questions that we have, what I want you to do, Brenda, is let us know where we can find you. I know we do a lot of Q&As with you, and those are coming up as well. Any projects that you've got that you want to shout out and have people keep their eye on? Any final thoughts? I'm going to give you the floor before I have my final reminders to go through as well. So Brenda, over to you.
Okay, sure. I'm on Ravelry a lot. My Ravelry ID is Yarnville. I have a blog that's called Craftsplosion.com, and I teach mittens and fingerless crochet class on Craftsy, so I'm there too. And and I teach on the Creative Crochet Corner. So I have videos and I do lots of live events, and we do have a Q&A coming up. So if you have lots of random crochet questions, I would love to try to answer them for you.
Amazing. And we get to so many little nitty gritty details in those Q&As. So if you haven't joined one before, please come join us for the next one. Keep your eyes peeled for it. And if you've been there before, come on back. We love having those Q&As. That said, we're done with today's project. So we want to make sure that if you are making today's project or any of the other projects from this week's mini series, please share it with us on social media. We have a hashtag for you to use. It's hashtag #ShareCraftsy. Again, hashtag #ShareCraftsy. And we would love for you to join us again tomorrow for our Made with Love mini series. We're continuing by streaming live with our master pastry chef, Colette Christian. We're going to start at 2 p.m. Central, and Colette is going to be providing a live demonstration on how to make vanilla and raspberry marshmallows. So you can download your free recipe right now using the link in the description, so you're ready for tomorrow's event. And you can check the description as well for the entire mini series schedule. So today we crafted, tomorrow we'll be doing some baking in the kitchen. I can't wait to see you then. Until then, thank you for joining us. My name is Leah. See you tomorrow.